Good morning, Patrick here. I hope you're well on this summer solstice, today being the 21st of June 2020. Solstice, two words that basically mean sun and stillness, solstice. At this time of the year, and this year it started around the 19th until about the 23rd, it would appear that the sun stands still in the sky for 2 or 3 minutes at midday, when the sun reaches the highest point of its orbit around the earth. Now I always like to think that the sun has stood still for those 2 or 3 minutes over these few days to look down at the earth, to look down at the mother and to say, wow, isn't that a fine job? Here I am, the masculine energy, the sun, looking down, and look at what the mother and I have created together. The earth being the mother, and look at all these beautiful children of this planet. And I love that idea. And I love that this unity program is about, in a particular way, the children of the earth. And so all the children of the earth, the children of our own kind, the two-legged, the creepers, the crawlers, the winged, the finned, the furred, the gliders and the sliders, the standing people, the stone people, the plant people, and of course, the star people. We're not alone in this universe, and we want to reach out to all the children every place. And then, of course, we want to reach inside to our own inner child. There are many parts to our life, there are many parts to our personality, there are many parts to our existence, and some of those parts can be wounded children, and the wounded child can be 40, 50 years of age, can be 2 or 3, but we all have little parts in us that are a little bit injured, that are a little bit sad still because we haven't dealt with it. And so today we're going to pay attention to, give love to, give compassion and care to all the children of the world, all the children of this world, of the earth, and the children in the worlds beyond. And so I invite you to join me now in closing your eyelids, But your eyelids are open, Patrick. Yes, they are, but you're away at the other end of a camera or a screen, and so that you can have a sense of being present here, just to close your eyelids and listen to this little presentation. Ceremony and ritual is a big word. But this little presentation, this little visualization, this exercise from the heart that's formed of love and shared with love. And so, if you're okay and comfy to do so, close your eyelids. And so we close our eyelids because we cannot close our eyes. And there you are, in that place behind closed eyelids. It is a pleasant place. And as many of you will have heard me say, it's the place we go to for all sorts of nice things, for hugs and kisses and birthday cake wishes. It's the place we go to when we daydream, perhaps when we put on the headphones and listen to a piece of music. We close the eyelids. And for sure, we go behind closed eyelids to sleep. And it's a simple enough old concept. And I want you to take it a little bit further today. There you are behind the closed eyelids now. And as you look around in there, you experience complete peaceful stillness. An absence of distraction, an absence of good or bad, just pleasantness. And in that pleasant place, I think it can surely reflect or mirror the experience we had when we were in the womb. And perhaps, we have to be honest, maybe not everybody had a pleasant experience in the womb. But we'd like to think or to imagine now that the experience in the womb was indeed very pleasant. To be present now with that disembodied feeling, that floating feeling behind your closed eyelids. Allow your body to relax, your hips, your buttocks, your shoulders, your face. Looking around in there, what's there to see? Nothing but that pleasant safety. The safety safeness perhaps of the womb, the safeness certainly of being behind those closed eyelids this morning. And if you listen carefully there in the womb, or if you listen carefully there behind the closed eyelids, listen for a moment or two, listen and hear the sound of the drum. The first sound the child hears is the rhythmic beating of the mother's heart. Do you know, as we get older, we get tied up in possessions, achievement and reputation. But today we're going to stop, even for these few moments, and see if we can feel, experience, or simply imagine that we can feel the pulse of the mother again. This time it's the pulse of the earth. And so your eyelids continue to be closed, and just listen now as I play the soft 2-beat rhythm, the heart rhythm. Lub dub, lub dub, lub dub, lub dub. I love dove, lub dub. I love dub. I love dub. I love. Allow a gentle sense of easiness to creep over your body now. Soften the belly again. Be at ease. Focus on the sound of the heart. Peaceful stillness. Back in the womb, listening to the gentle sound of the mother's heart, floating effortlessly, free from fear, free from attachment, just being blissful, being nurtured, being loved, being cherished. Continues to beat. Your heart, the earth's heart, synchronicity with each other. The sun in this solstice time looking down with great warm affection, nurturing us, cherishing us with the mother, the divine feminine, the divine masculine. Feel the warmth of the sun. Feel the care of the mother now. Feel them wash over you. Like a warm mist, a gentle fog, swirling, curling, wrapping themselves around you. The combined energy of the divine masculine, the divine feminine. Bringing you that deep sense of safety, that love that's unconditional, but more than that, that love that cannot be defeated. Eyelids closed, listen to the sound of the drum, sending healing, the healing of this mist or fog, back to those times in your life in childhood when you were wounded, when you were hurt, when you were fearful, when you were abandoned, when you were joyful, when you were happy, when you were nurtured, when you were cherished. All the times, good and bad, we celebrate all the times of the child now. And still you can hear the sound of the heart. Behind the closed eyelids, it's easy to imagine, visualize, pretend that you are without a body, without the burden of this physical life and the suffering, mostly, that we create ourselves. That for these few moments now you're free, you're liberated. Just be with the sound of the drum. Doesn't have to be a great re-raw and rula-bula, hip hip hooray. Just a simple event now to soothe, ease, bring nurture and comfort to the inner child. Continue with your eyelids closed now as we shift up to the upper eagle rhythm. With your eyelids closed, your own inner child glowing a little bit more happily, more joyfully. I want you to imagine, visualize, pretend that you're in a circle, sitting on the earth in a wild place. There are 4 cardinal points on the circle, denoting, marking the east, the south, the west and the north. And so as it happens, you're sitting and you're looking to the place of the east, the place of the rising sun, the place of new beginnings, the place of the springtime, the air element, the sacred tree, the roan tree, and the little air elementals, the little winged ones. I'd say, it's not a bad representation to say they look like Tinkerbell. Of course, the hummingbird is the animal that we associate here in Healing Tree Retreats with the east and the rising sun. There at the east is the great archangel, the archetype that existed before Christianity or any of that. Now that archetype, that being, that manifestation of Source Creator is known as Raphael or Raphael. And so we call on all the beings of the east, all the holy ones, and especially Raphael, who's known to be the great healer. I say to Raphael, from your lofty place amongst the stars, breathe out now, breathe out the gift of Source Creator, the gift of life, and breathe out your gift of healing to all the children in all the places, the children who are suffering, the children from times that are past, the children that are in the present, the children that are yet to come, to breathe out the gift simple healing, wellness to all children, every place, every when, everywhere. And I say ho and gratitude to the east. Now imagine that the circle has turned and there you are facing the south. And at the south on our circle, as it happens, there's a little fire. You can see the candle to the drum side of me here, representing the south. Fire is at the south, the summertime, this time, the solstice time, when the sun is at its highest, the midday sun, the apple tree, representing so much joy for children. Oh, I'm sure we all went and stole a few apples from orchards and had a bit of crack in the summer. And so the south is the time of joy and happiness, the time too of change and transformation. Here, the power animal at the south is the coyote. Oh, they say he's the deceiver. Healing here on my little hill, he's the honest coyote, the playful one. And so, to the south we say Michael, because Michael is the archetype at the south. Michael with your sword, with your shield. Come now from your lofty place amongst the stars, and bless all the children of this earth. Protect them, cut away old hurts and injuries with your flaming sword. Place your shield to the front of them, to the back of them, to the left, to the right, above and below them, so that all children throughout time are blessed and protected by the energies of fire, the south, and bring them joy, we say to the coyote, to the playful one. And so we have prayed for the gifts of the south, and I say ho and gratitude to the south. The wheel turns again, the circle turns again, and you find yourself now looking at the west, the place of the setting sun, a place, of course, of the ancestors, those who have gone before us. The autumn time, the time of abundance and plenty, the place of water, the emotional center in the body. The second chakra is associated with water, so it's an emotional place, the western place. The setting sun, harvest, the time of abundance, the willow tree, and the great bear stands at the south. Oh, he'd mind you. Great big lug of a bear. Great bear standing. Aye, a nice fella. And at the west, we have the archetype, Gabriel, the messenger between heaven and earth. Gabriel is mentioned in the Quran, the Old Testament and the New Testament, in our kind of modern, mucked up religious world. But Gabriel, that archetype, existed before any of those structures were put around our spiritual life. And so to Gabriel, to the great bear standing, to all the beings and holy ones of the West, we say, pour your grace blessings, your protection, your gentle emotional healing from your lofty place amongst the stars to all the children of the earth and beyond, the children of all kinds, the two-legged, the four-legged, all creatures, not just our kind, and of course to the wounded inner child that most of us carry around within us. Ask Gabriel to bring about an emotional transformation, to heal us in our hearts. Where people are the little elementals at the West. You know, here in Coolba we choose for them to be playful ones. And so we ask them also to bring joy from the water element to the children of the world. All that were, all that are, and all that will be. I say ho and gratitude to the West. Then the wheel turns again and we find ourselves looking at that place that would be the north. And the north is the earth element. The earth element and the earth elementals, the gnome-like creatures. In the north we have the sacred tree is the yew tree. In the north we have the reflected sun, moonlight, time and place of mystery, the winter time, the time of hibernation and recovery, the time of rest and restoration. The buffalo stands at the north, in our circle here in Coolba. And so we turn our mind to the archetype, the great Holy One of the North. The great Holy One of the North is the Archangel Uriel. Uriel was said to be the keeper at the gates of Eden. Before we decided, well, there was no throwing down, the mind them in their own nonsense, before we decided to step out from enlightenment into the world of manifestation, into the world of trials and tribulation, into the world of what we call our reality, into the world of experience. And so Uriel is the keeper at the gates of Eden, representing the keeper of our third eye, when we were in that divine state, when we were connected to all that is to the universal knowledge, the universal intelligence, the universal truth. And so we ask Uriel, the buffalo, the mineral kingdom, the earth elementals, the reflected sun, the energy of the moon, grandmother moon. Ask all these beautiful sources to pour down their grace, blessings and protection from their lofty place amongst the stars on all the children of this earth, all that were, that are and that will be, and the children of all kinds and species, and the children beyond this earth, and of course again our own inner child. I say ho and gratitude to the north. And there are 6 directions, and so we turn our mind to the direction of up. We say grandfather, sun, grandmother, moon. The sun representing the divine and loving masculine energy. There's a lot of it. There's some toxic masculine out there too, toxic feminine as well, but we're dealing only with the gorgeousness of the divine masculine, the divine feminine. And so to the direction of up, we say pour down your grace, blessings and protection on all the children of this earth, particularly the gifts of courage, but balanced with compassion. Oh, and eternal gratitude to the direction of up. And then of course, well, sure, where would we be if we wouldn't be? Then we turn our mind to the direction of down, to the Mother Earth. God bless and save her always. Goodness bless and save her always. How she puts up with us is beyond me. But she does, and she continues to nurture and to provide for us, her children. In spite of the havoc and all nonsense we get on with and the destruction we wreak on her other children, still she keeps us going. And we send sincere apologies and resolution that we will play our part on walking more respectfully with more care and affection on the earth. And you could say we have a hard neck, and we ask the Mother, please continue to bless us, to love us always, as we strive to bring about balance and harmony between all the species, the plants, the animals, and all the unseen ones on this earth. Oh, and warm, almost tearful gratitude to the earth. And that's the theme of our Unity Solstice as children. I'd like to read a little story now for all children everywhere in all time. And the story is The Elves and the Shoemaker. I don't know if any of you remember it now, but it certainly goes back a little while. And it's one of the favourite stories I read to the inner child of clients here at Healing Tree. The Elves and the Shoemaker. I hope you'll enjoy it. Like all good stories, it starts with, once upon a time, there lived a shoemaker and his wife. The man was a good shoemaker and he worked very hard, yet he and his wife were very, very poor. As time went on, they grew poorer and poorer. At last the day came when all the shoemaker had left was one piece of leather. It would make only one pair of shoes. That evening, before he went to bed, the shoemaker cut out a pair of shoes from the leather. Then he left them on his workbench, all ready for him to sew the next morning. As they were going upstairs to bed that night, the shoemaker spoke sadly to his wife. I have used my last piece of leather, he said. I've cut out one pair of shoes. Tomorrow I will sew them. When they are sold, I do not know what will become of us. The next morning, the shoemaker got up early and went into his workshop ready to make the final pair of shoes. On his bench, instead of the leather that he had left cut out, he found a pair of shoes already made. He was astonished and didn't know what to think. The shoemaker took the shoes in his hands and looked carefully at them. They were neatly made, with not one bad stitch on them. He showed the shoes to his wife, who said, "I have never seen a pair of shoes so well made. They are perfect," she said. The shoemaker and his wife could not think who had sewn the shoes. The same morning, a lady came into the shop to buy a pair of shoes. The shoemaker showed her the pair he had found on his bench. She said, "I have never seen such well-made shoes." The lady tried on the shoes and they fitted her perfectly. She was so pleased with them that she paid the shoemaker twice the usual price. With the money, the shoemaker was able to buy leather for 2 pairs of shoes. That night, before he went to bed, he cut out 2 pairs of shoes. He left them on his workbench, all ready for him to sew in the morning. The next morning, the shoemaker got up early and went into his shop to make the shoes. But he had no need to do so. On his bench, he found 2 pairs of shoes already made. He took the shoes in his hands and looked carefully at them. Once more, he found that they were neatly made, not one bad stitch to be seen. That morning, a man came into the shop to buy some shoes. The shoemaker showed him the 2 pairs of shoes he had found on his bench. The man said, "I have never seen such well-made shoes in all of my life." He was so pleased with them that he bought both pairs of shoes, and he paid the shoemaker twice the usual price. With the money, the shoemaker was able to buy leather for 4 pairs of shoes. That night, before he went to bed, he cut out 4 pairs of shoes. He left them on his workbench, all ready for him to sew in the morning. The next morning, the shoemaker got up early and went into his shop to make the shoes. But he had no need to do so. On his bench, he found the 4 pairs of shoes already made. He took the shoes in his hands and looked carefully at them. Once again, he found that they were neatly made, with not one bad stitch in them. And so it went on. Every night the shoemaker cut out some shoes and left them on his workbench. Every morning he found the shoes all neatly made. Many rich customers came to his shop to buy these perfect shoes. So in time, the shoemaker and his wife became comfortably rich. Yet the shoemaker and his wife still had no idea who made these perfect shoes for them. One evening, not long before Christmas, when the shoemaker had finished cutting out shoes, he went to his wife. He said, "We still do not know who sews the shoes for us. Shall we stay up tonight to see who it is that helps us?" His wife thought that this was a very good idea. So she lit a candle and they went into the workshop. They hid themselves in a corner of the room, behind some clothes that were hanging there. Then the shoemaker and his wife waited quietly and watched to see what would happen. And for a long time, nothing happened. Then, just as the clock struck 12, the door of the workshop opened quietly, and in came 2 tiny elves. They were dressed in old clothes and their feet were bare. They did not see the shoemaker and his wife, who were hiding in the corner watching them. The elves jumped onto the workbench, took up the shoes that were cut out. They began to stitch and sew and hammer. They worked so neatly and so quickly that the shoemaker could hardly believe his eyes. The elves did not stop for a moment until all the cut-out shoes were finished. Then they ran quickly away. The next morning at breakfast, the shoemaker asked his wife, "How can we thank these little elves who have made us so rich and so happy?" "I know what we can do," said his wife. "We can make them new clothes and shoes. Their own clothes are ragged and their feet are bare." During the evenings that followed, the shoemaker and his wife began to make new clothes for the elves. The shoemaker chose the softest leather he could find. He cut out 2 of the tiniest pairs of shoes you've ever seen. Then he stitched the shoes as carefully as ever he could. The shoemaker's wife cut out 2 white shirts, 2 small green jackets, and 2 pairs of trousers to match. And she sewed them with tiny stitches, much love and great affection. She made 2 little caps each, and each cap had a feather in it. She also knitted 2 pairs of wee white stockings. Asher, God bless her. By Christmas Eve, the tiny clothes and shoes were finished. The shoemaker cleared the leather and took the tools from his workbench. He and his wife laid out their presents on the bench instead of the usual work. And they hid themselves as they had done before, and they waited to see what the elves would do. Just as the clock struck 12, the door opened quietly as before. The 2 elves came running in. They still wore old clothes and their feet were blue with the cold. They jumped onto the bench, ready to get to work at once. But there was no leather on the bench, only tiny clothes. The elves were astonished at first, and then they were delighted. In no time at all, they were out of their old clothes. Then, talking and laughing, they dressed themselves in the beautiful new clothes, the green jacket and the trousers, the white shirt and the stockings, the soft leather shoes and the little caps with the feathers that nodded as they laughed. In their delight, the little elves skipped and jumped over chairs and benches. They joined hands and danced around as they sang. Now we are boys so fine to see, we need no longer cobblers be. Now we are boys so fine to see, we need no longer cobblers be. At last they danced happily out of the door. The shoemaker and his wife never saw the little elves again, but from that time good luck was always with them, and they always shared their abundance with those who were in need. They were rich, happy, and they did live happily ever after. Goodness bless you all this wonderful